Thank you, everybody, for being here. Welcome to the Spiritual Social Club Live. Feel free to clap. That's right. It's Caroline. Please do. Very excited. Caroline, we're so thrilled that you're here. If you have been under a rock and you don't know, Caroline is a New York Times bestselling author, 10 books, couple of them, Sacred Contracts, name a few, Anatomy of the Spirit, Entering the Castle, millions of sales, 28 languages. However, what I love the most about Caroline is her heart and her soul. And what is most important is her sacred life, her mysticism, her prayer. It is absolutely paramount that be a part of her daily life and daily routine. And in the many years now, in the many years that I've known you.
A long time now.
I am so grateful to have you here. So thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you. And thank you, all of you. Hello.
That's right. Hello. Sacred language is what we talked about in the power of prayer as just our launching point, right, for today and for this conversation, because thanks to you, I have opened my mind to the reality of prayer being real and having an impact. And for years and years, I was fighting it. And when COVID hit and we started a prayer group on Sundays, and I'm a convenient Christian over here, right? It depended who my dad was married to at the time. But we never did the rosary. The rosary wasn't something we did. And so when we started this Rosary Sundays for the non-Catholic, I remember the first time I was like, Jen, do you want to lead? And I was like, you go ahead. I was like, I'm Googling it as we're doing it. I'm like, okay, how many Hail Marys? And I was like,
how do I do this?
How does this work?
How do you drive this thing?
Exactly. And now knowing fluently how to drive it, the sacred, just the entire process of it. Prayer is real and prayers are heard. And the language that you use in your daily life, and Caroline teaches about this over and over and over again, it matters. And as somebody who has helped others, myself included, realize that, I just want to say thank you.
Oh, don't thank you.
Yeah.
No.
But it's part of your life. And so for those who don't know, right now, your daily life, we're getting back into especially the weekly positioning of being able to go to church on a Sunday, right? But for you, it's very important. Your prayerful life is very important, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
And when you do, it's not like it's scripted. You're also, I love your book about prayer. Raise your hand or clap if you've gotten Caroline's latest book on prayer. Yes. Okay. They can't hear that. You got to clap.
Please
okay.
don't.
Yeah, that's a silent clap. And it came just at the right time with the pandemic. It hit just at the right time. And I use it like an oracle, guys. Like literally when I'm stuck, it's like I just kind of go take the book and I'll go like, eeny, meeny, miny, this. And then it's a prayer, and it's exactly the prayer that I need in exactly that moment. But I was watching a recent conversation that you were having about the building, and I would love it if you would share that a little bit with the room. The floors of the building.
The building.
The first floor, the 12. I don't want you to talk about every floor, but we can't leap to the penthouse, people. You have to work to get to the penthouse.
Well, that was a lovely introduction. Little embellished, but
I don't think so.
I'll go this way. That's what happens when you're close friends. But what Jen was correct is that prayer has become a vital part of my life. And what I want to say as a kind of prelude to this is that when I speak of prayer, I'm not speaking in Catholic. I'm not speaking Catholicese. But for me, prayer, this is a universe that is incredibly impersonal. Impersonal. There's nothing personal about this universe. This universe was not set up for any of us. We are here on borrowed time as a gift. And long after we're dead and long before we were alive, this universe this earth was orbiting the sun. So make no mistake, this is a very impersonal universe, and your life is a completely impersonal adventure. The design of your body was not designed for you. Make no mistake. You are chemistry and physiology, but it wasn't designed for you. The greatest gift you can give yourself is to take your life impersonally. Life, death, cycles of life are impersonal. There's nothing personal about that.
So everyone goes to why me? Why me?
No.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I will get to the building in a second. Mm-hmm. But what I realized is that what makes life personal, or shall I say intimate, is prayer. Because while this universe is completely impersonal, the cycles of life, gravity, if we jumped from this building, I promise you we will all fall. I will bet every last cent I have. We will fall. Because that's gravity. It's not personal. Now, the art of life is to understand that life is not personal. The journey of life and the spiritual journey is to get to a place where you stop asking why me and you simply ask why. Why are things the way they are? Not because of you, but because they are. You don't ask what's my purpose in life, you ask what's the purpose of life. And then you fit yourself in. Mm-hmm. If you keep asking where your story is, heaven will not answer you. It will not. Because life is not about you. You have to figure out what life is about. And then humble up. Because life was not started to satisfy your insecurities. Snap out of it. Now, the building. You want me for a spiritual director? Be the best thing that ever happened to you. Anyway, I want you to, since we're all in Chicago, I want you to picture the John Hancock building. Everybody got that in your scope?
Yep.
All right, we're all walking into the John Hancock building. We're all on the first floor. Can you do that with me? Mm-hmm. All right, now, imagine that you live on the first floor and you've never been on any of the other floors of the John Hancock. You don't even know they exist. All you know is the John Hancock first floor. So you look out a window from the first floor and you can barely see the whole of Michigan Avenue, maybe a little of it. Turned on the back side, you don't see Michigan Avenue. You can't see it because it's blocked by all this stuff on Chestnut and Fairbanks. You can't see it. I mean, I think it's Fairbanks back there. Mm-hmm. You can't see it. So if someone said you live near Lake Michigan, this gorgeous, one of the Great Lakes, you could say you're wrong. Mm-hmm. Because you don't see it. Because it's all about you, isn't it? And because on the first floor of your life, you base everything on just your five senses. What you can touch, what you can see, what you can hear. And that's it. And as far as you're concerned, when you're on the first floor of your life, everything is literal, everything is physical, and that's as far as it goes. Once you're born, you're like the John Hancock building. You are located. I was born in Chicago. I can't change that. I was born to a Polish-Austrian family. Can't change that. I was born in 1952. Can't change that. So the chemistry of my building was set in place in 1952. That's the same for all of you. Once our buildings are locked in, our movement now becomes vertical. What floor of your life do you want to view your life on? For every floor we go up in the Hancock, it's going to cost you more money. More money. Vista and vision is expensive. So you want to live on another floor, you got to work harder. But every time you go up a floor, at one point you say, oh my God, there's a lake out there. Oh my God, there's a South Michigan Avenue and there's a North Michigan Avenue and wow, there's a State Street and there's an Eisenhower. There's a Kennedy. But if you go back to your first floor, you can't see that. In fact, you think it's all about you and just this thing across the street. And in fact, you could convince yourself that that's all there is. You could, and many people do. And many people think when they look out their first floor, they see an accident and they decide, they walk out and they think, well, I know exactly what happened. This person's this, and they decide exactly what reality is in that moment because that's what they saw. They have no idea at all about the greater view. What kind of car was that? Who made the car? How was it made? Who was at the assembly line? The greater picture. Maybe the person who actually put the wheel on at the assembly line that particular day was having a heart attack and they slipped up on the bolt. The greater view of the unknown, which never even occurs to you when you are looking through your tiny little self-serving lens in the first floor. And it is only self-serving. It is the place that Buddha calls the illusion. Illusions. But they serve you. They come from anger. They come from fear. They come from what you want to see. Oh, it's my story, my pain, mine. But as you go up the floors, you eventually realize this isn't my world. This is our world. You start to shift your vocabulary, and it hurts. It's like pulling teeth. I have to stop thinking that this is my world, my pain, my. You have to stop it. Stop telling about your pain. Stop that endless narrative. And think, you know what? This whole world is the journey of pain. Now, why is that? Why? Why do we keep hurting each other? It's not just about me. It's about trying to figure out why this species keeps hurting each other. Why? Now we're coming to a higher level of consciousness. It's not about my pain. It's about understanding pain and why human beings keep hurting and what can I do to become a different quality of human being and take the pain I have experienced and turn it into something to contribute to no pain anymore the best way that I can. Stop telling my endless stupid story. And believe me, your friends will say, thank God she shut up. Shut up. I don't want to hear your complaining again. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Anyway, now that's evidence of my Catholic background. But eventually you start seeing others and you realize this is about life and all we share, not just what I've had to endure. And you start thinking, I got to get rid of the word endure and substitute the grace of endurance. God, grant me endurance. God, grant me the grace to endure what you're asking me to endure. And if I can take on something for others, give it to me. Make me strong. Make me an instrument in this world. Make me an instrument. Make me an instrument of your peace. See it. This is the vertical journey. And every floor you go higher and higher and higher. And you start thinking, this life is about how can I be of service to others? How can I be a vessel of transformation? How can I make a difference? Even if you understood that every word you use matters, when you think, why am I going to use that word? That word's going to hurt that person. Why would I use that? As you go up and up and up, you see more, and that seeing includes, you sense more, you sense, this person needs my support. You start realizing that the most challenging thing in the world is to support another person, to empower another person. You have to ask yourself, as you go up these floors, they get harder because you have to look at yourself. And you have to ask yourself, why is it so difficult for me to acknowledge others when I'm craving acknowledgement? What's the matter with me? What's the matter with me? And you have to address that in yourself. Because that's the stuff that makes you go to war. And if you go to war in petty ways, you're part of the war in Ukraine. You're part of why people still go to war. Because that's psychic free radicals that you're generating. And you'll break your word to other people, and you'll be petty, and you will be that you'll still behave that way because you can't bring yourself to empower another human being. This is the journey we share.
Let's talk about the power of that word, because you say that even
Get
the
it?
thing, right?
And this is what I call organic divinity. Mm-hmm. This is God in your blood and bones. And in my opinion, this is in my humble opinion, and I really do mean it, I think we are emerging in the era of a bio-spiritual ecological theology. God is law, and God is love, and God is light. Those are the three forces of God. There is no religion. Religion, I love religion. Let me be really clear here. I love religions. They're the politics of God that was required to civilize human beings. Not that it did a good job, but we're not very civil. But it has a place. It has a place in history. But its time is over. And what we're living through is the chaos of religions evaporating gradually. But if you understand, get up to the penthouse, get up to the highest level you can, where you understand something without judgment. So you don't say, well, I hate those priests in that petty little way people talk. But instead you get there and you think, okay, this is this grand moment in evolution where it's the end of the princess knight archetype. The last queen of England will certainly pass soon. And that whole archetype of royalty will fade from view in human history. And within a century, churches will no doubt become museums. And we are beginning to, we're at the beginning of this shift, this grand shift of becoming a very different species in our beliefs. But what makes us so fragile is that we have yet to identify what it is we do believe. All we know is what we don't believe. And that's what makes you so fragile, because you don't know what you believe.
And not knowing who you are or what you believe is what's causing all the ego.
Yep.
And so for those who want to get to the penthouse, but they're stuck on floor like 3.5,
or just the lower,
or anywhere below 10, what would you recommend for people to get out of their own way, get unstuck, to get to that flow? If there's flow, there's go. I mean, and it starts small too. You talk about the importance of the micro is so much more important than the macro.
Well,
the little things we do. The little.
Well, first of all, honestly, how many of you are seriously devoted to becoming a more conscious person?
Crap.
Versus, no, really, versus observing consciousness. Because there's a difference. There's a difference. How many of you here's the question number 2. How many of you know you have tendencies and habits, like, for example, how many of you know you play power games with people? Petty power games. Hands up, how many? And none of you have any petty power games? Don't sit there on your hands. I'm talking to all of you. I mean, how many of you pout? How many of you do anything as a way of letting people know you're angry? Anything?
They're all like, yeah.
All right, okay. Now, you're asking, how do you begin to shift? One of the ways, what love is all about, what your power is to say to yourself, how do I want to manage my power? How do I want to manage my power? Because your consciousness, the spirituality, is all about the management of yourself and the courage to manage your power with clean lines. And if you have to manipulate, pout, and do petty stuff, you're being cowardly. You're being cowardly. So how do you start? You start with every small choice you make, which is, I'm losing power. How many of you lie? Oh, okay, just 2. Okay. So, good.
Are we talking white lies or big giant lies?
All right,
Like when I tell my son I never
that's a lie.
smoke pot.
We don't lie, so we all lie.
Yeah,
Okay. So, but what I mean by this is you find telling the truth a challenge. Let me put it that way. Telling the truth a challenge. And so when you find telling the truth a challenge, and it's something I just had a long conversation with my spiritual director And I said, and I'll take you back now to when you were 7, 8 years old, which is a very pivotal year for human beings. That's the year when your first chakra has begun, it's pulsating, you're about to emerge into your second chakra. And there's an archetypal shift that happens, a kind of a cosmic test. And it's set up. And the almost every single tradition universally considers the age of 7, 8 the age of reason, which is very interesting. When we come into our reasonable senses, which means that it's the age at which we are now being held accountable by our parents. Did you do this? Yes or no? All right, we're expected to be able to say we did or we did not. And what actually happens at that age, archetypally, is that the non-physical world, the angelic community, and especially the angelic guardians that you have been in are in very close watch over you before your 5 senses are fully grounded, which is why little kids so oftentimes see between the veils. They see invisible. It's not a big deal. It's normal. It's totally ordinary to see, just like it is in the elders as they prepare to leave. They begin to see between the veils. Both sides of life begin to see between the veils. I can see between the veils. But as you reach the age of 7, you become incarnated, or another word to think about it is densified. So if you think about mist coming into rain, coming into ice, you are forming your ice, okay? And you're solidifying. And so your senses are. But up until this time, there's been an ongoing resonance that's not conscious. It is intuitive. As the weave of your internal intuitive system is getting put into place, intuition is not, repeat, not, and never will be a gift. You are wired. It is your primal sense, not your gifted sense. It is your primal sense, your primary. So that at age 7, what happens is that you have an archetypal initiatory experience that activates your metronome. Right, wrong, good, bad, left, right, safe, unsafe. And this is located in the first chakra primarily. It is your survival instinct. So with everyone, and I bet all of you can remember some version of this, somewhere around 7 or 8, you pulled your first boo-boo. You told your first lie. You stole your first cookie. You did something and you got caught. And you were supposed to get caught. That whole thing was a setup. And an adult, maybe a parent, maybe a teacher, maybe your aunt, maybe your uncle caught you and said, did you do this? And this is where, in that microsecond experience, you would have heard your angel as loud as possible saying, what are you going to do here? Because it's archetypal. Are you going to trust your inner voice and stick with the truth? Are you going to trust truth? Imprint. Are you going to trust the power of truth or the power of illusion? What are you going to do? This is the moment, the experience that so many people develop a fear of truth. If I tell the truth, I'll be punished. Truth is bad. Truth is bad. If I tell the truth, I'll be punished. It's archetypal. No, I didn't do this. And from that point on, there is a skew. Telling the truth results in punishment. Which is why when a child tell the truth, you won't be punished. If they tell you the truth, say, thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you. It was the most courageous thing. Truth will never hurt you. It will be hard to do this, but wow, well done.
And now you're grounded.
Anyway, enough of my carrying on. You get the picture.
Yes, that's exactly right. And so at that age, I'm so glad you brought up the ice and the mist, because we are so formed in our ice that we don't have the flexibility of the mist. And so for those who are stuck in ice cube molding, right, of their ways, and it hurts, and they're hurting, and they don't know, and they're afraid to tell the truth, and they're afraid to do this,
Right.
and fear is kind of running. I love it. You told a wonderful story recently in one of your videos, and I hope everybody is on Myss.com, MYSS.com, and Caroline's workshops and all of that. It can all be found there. But she was talking about in a recent video, her YouTube channel too, where you're encouraging someone to get to forgiveness, and you were talking about forgiveness. And he couldn't get to forgiveness, because if he got to forgiveness, then it was his family, and his family's
the
abusive.
Irish guy.
Yeah, would you
I've
tell
told
that?
this story 1,000 million
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
That may be an exaggeration, but close.
Okay.
I was actually in Ireland, and I was talking about the role forgiveness plays in our consciousness, our understanding about how life works, and about where suffering plays in, and really why forgiveness is so powerful. And it's really the first conscious mystical thing you will ever do, because it doesn't make sense to your rational mind. There's nothing in, because you think forgiveness means telling somebody what they did to you didn't matter. Or think about how many people are trying to forgive you, and they're in therapy over trying to forgive you. Try that one. You didn't think about that now, did you? It's always about you, isn't it? But turn it around, right? They're trying to figure out how to forgive you. And it's not just you always trying to forgive, and oh, poor you, poor you. It's also other people who can't get over why they ever had to meet you. And curse the day of it. But that, as I said, is life, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But what forgiveness really is about is, it's really, if I may tell the story of Easter, I used to think that the story of Jesus was baffling in so many ways. Baffling, puzzling, but of the many things that puzzled and baffled me, it was this resurrection story. And I was like, what the heck? And that too, Right. And right, yeah. And then they have to tell you that, and it's not enough that you're the Son of God, and then you have to write, what? And then the whole suffer for my sins. What? Get out of here, right? And then one day, I was doing a reading on someone. I used to have a pretty constant practice as a medical intuitive. And
for thousands of readings with Norm Shealy, who's a Harvard-trained, yes.
A lot, yeah.
Thankfully not doing that anymore in a way that, because all of those thousands of readings brought forth a lot of the work that you do now, but you don't have to sit across from people telling you that their back hurts.
Oh. But it was my greatest teacher.
Of course.
And I was doing a reading on someone. I was in New Hampshire, where I used to live. I was on the farm. And in doing a reading, I would get your name, your age, your permission. And then your file drops in. And what that's like is simply like this. Now, this requires you go back into the building. And every building, every floor in you get to understand something with greater clarity, the same thing. When you're a child, you don't understand water as chemistry. But as you get older and you go higher and higher, you are capable of understanding the chemical properties of water. And then eventually you're capable of understanding the ecological significance and preciousness of water. But you can't do that on the first floor. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is like that same kind of experience. In doing a reading, an intuitive reading, you're dealing with light and not a book. So if you're not giving me your file in my hand. It is an internet that works like the internet. Mm. And if you only knew that you're wired exactly like the internet, you would have very clean thoughts. and you would actually realize that you do transmit energy mail to each person, and that's how prayer works. Prayer works on the internet. And I personally think the idea of the internet was unconsciously inspired from our internet. And so when I would ask for a name and an age, impressions transition this fast into me. So if I said to you, I want you all to think of your living room, and think of your living room in your favorite kind of way. And imagine that you're not really seeing it. If you actually think of what you are looking, you're not seeing a thing. You have an image, but the image is not sight. It's an energetic something or other. Memories are not sight. They're not visual. They're energetic compounds. That's all. Are you actually seeing anything? You're not seeing anything at all. And yet you clearly see it. Both are true. So you're actually just dabbling with energy now that you recognize because it's familiar, but you're seeing nothing except you're reading energy. You're reading an energy pattern now. And when I do a reading, those same energy patterns that are perceived the exact same way transfer to me. The only difference is I don't have any feeling about them because they're not mine. So I have no sentiment, no love, no anger, nothing. They're just energetic impressions that come in this fast. Okay? So I'm doing a reading, and I'm in my usual, and they're supposed to be just kind of coming in real fast. But what I get instead as I'm doing a reading on this man with cancer is I'm at the crucifixion. It's not Easter. I have nothing Christian going on, so as they say. And I opened up my eyes and I thought, where did that come from? Because it wasn't an ordinary image. It was full scale, full on. I mean, I felt as if I was in Jerusalem. I felt as if I was there at the crucifixion. And I really went, whoa! And then I focused on the name, and I don't focus like this. I'm none of that. I don't meditate. I don't do any of that. I will never meditate. I don't do any nothing. I don't have any of that in me. I'm telling you, I'm as ordinary as a blueberry muffin. And I just closed my eyes and I said, okay, give it to me again. And I'm right back at the crucifixion. And I opened my eyes, and I'm not stupid. I said, what do you want? What are you telling me? What? And then my way is that I become receptive. I become receptive, incredibly humble. What do I need to learn? What do I need to learn? I live in an inner place that says, I know nothing, tell me everything. I know nothing, tell me everything. Anything that I can handle to learn, I know nothing. If you walk around convinced you know everything, put your head in the toilet for 7 minutes and get over yourself. And humble up. You know nothing. You don't even know anything about yourself. So who are you kidding? So your wisest mantra is, I know nothing, tell me anything. And give me the grace to live with what you tell me, with what you reveal. And so this is what played out for me, was a different understanding of the crucifixion that was all about forgiveness, was all about the story of Jesus, which to that point had puzzled me in so many ways, because the idea that there was an off-planet God that was so pissed off that he had to send his son to die for us made no sense to me, none, zero. It will never make sense. But this is what was that happened to me that day. And I don't say this to you, by the way, I do not push for a religion. I don't care what you believe. It matters to me not at all. Except if you're fundamentalist, which you shape up. But what
They love Jesus a lot.
Yeah. But this was, I saw the story of Jesus relived through this lens. And that as, he has the Last Supper and he goes to Gethsemane. And he takes those 12 characters of his, semi-literate, semi-conscious, and he says, do this in remembrance of me. So he gives them something physical, bread and wine. And he says, do this, meet together in remembrance of all that I've taught you. And then he goes to, he says to Judas, go do your thing. I don't know why poor Judas got such a bad rap, because he commanded him. Then they go to Gethsemane. And Peter can't stay awake. And that's an interesting thing, because it means he's not conscious. Are you ever going to be conscious, right? And he goes, and the first thing that really, 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 really struck me was he supposedly said this prayer, can you take this chalice from me? Because, I don't want to do this. This sucks. I want to go somewhere else, maybe the beach, but not here. And he doesn't hear anything. Now, this is really important if you want to understand prayer. He doesn't hear anything, which is an answer to a prayer. Heaven does not waste anything. If you were on the wrong path, if you were somehow or other, if any kind of guidance could help you, you'd get it. But if you don't hear it, that itself is like this saying, I have nothing to say. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to. Heaven does not and will never, ever, ever come in and say, no, this is just what I want you to do. Have some tea. This is why. Doesn't help that. And when he doesn't hear anything, he says, then help me get through this. Thy will be done. So now he's arrested, and he goes in front of Caiaphas, who says, get him out of here, sends him to Pontius Pilate, who's a really four-star flaming butane jerk. And Pilate says, say something, because, I can handle your life. It's up to me. To which he says, no, it's not. I just made this, deal with my father, and you're working for me. I'm editing. But he says, get this man out of here and bring me water to wash my hands of the power to break the current, because water was used to break the spiritual current. Anyway, I'm just going to fast forward to to where he's actually on the cross and say this, that the crucifixion has always been looked at like we need a sacrifice so that now God's happy and he died for. What a bunch of crap. This is what I think it's about. Here's this, the most power, I think if maybe the most powerful soul to ever hit this planet, who said, I am going to lace up a new archetype. And I'm going to show you what you have to go through to get to the real power of yourself. I'm going to go through every single thing you use as an excuse to harm other human beings self-righteously. I'm going to be betrayed. I'm going to be humiliated. I'm going to be accused of a crime. I'm going to be abandoned by my friends. I'm going to be beaten. I'm going to go through and it's going to be unjust. All the things you use, all of them, to justify your pettiness, your anger, your oh so significant life. And then in the end, I'm going to say, let it go, because you have no idea what's really at stake, because what really needs to get crucified is your need to get even. It's you have to put on the cross. You. Killing that appetite for vengeance. Killing that appetite to get even. Killing that sense of self-pity in you that gives you permission to destroy your own life by feeling sorry about what happened to you. About thinking it's only you that's ever been lashed on the back, who's ever lost somebody, who's ever gone broke, who's ever, whatever it is, gives you permission to destroy yourself And that is something heaven will not support. Ever. So that's the appetite, and that's the weakness. You have to decide, I'm going to get rid of this in me. Because so long as you've got it, you will lunge and you will eat off other people. You'll be a complainer. You'll be a vampire. You'll take your weakness and visit friends and say, oh, I just can't. But what you're doing is consuming their life force instead of using grace to resurrect yourself. And so what you have to do, you ask me how this? You have to crucify that. And as Jesus said, it will never be easy following me, but this is what he meant. This is what he meant. You're going to have to crucify that part of you that gives yourself permission to be bitter, to make other people suffer, to say, I deserve this because I've suffered so much. What do you deserve because you've suffered? This whole story of life is nothing but suffering. It's not until we get over that and stop thinking we deserve something. Because we've had bad childhoods, bad days, bad this. Who the hell hasn't?
Why did that picture show up for the cancer patient then?
It was the right time.
He was just in that.
It was the right time. It had nothing to do with him.
Okay.
It was just the right time. So now I'm done talking. You can ask me questions.
No, I want.
You can talk
questions.
ahead.
Yes.
Go for it.
Questions for Carolyn. I told you all to prepare a question. The first person to raise their hand gets to ask the first question. Don't be shy.
Have I gone over time?
Not at all. We're in great shape. Beth, did you have a question? You're not?
Oh, now have I scared you?
Okay. All right. If nobody's... Okay,
I'm harmless. You should see me at 8:30.
Stephanie, yes. Yes, go stand to the mic, sweetie. Thank you.
Great boots.
Yeah, great boots.
Hi.
Hi, gorgeous.
Thank you so much. This is really enlightening on many, many different levels.
Says the Jewish woman, as we were just talking about Jesus
Jew.
for a half an hour.
So the question I have is the level of detachment from, ancestral trauma, your own trauma, the things that are people attacking you. Is it a weakness to say, I forgive you, walk away, and then all of a sudden you're running off, compartmentalizing or hiding from it instead of engaging? And how best to respond?
With forgiveness, I have fun. And let me tell you something. The inability to forgive actually really did kill me. I bled to death. So let me not sound like I was good at it in the beginning. Let me not come across as someone who was a master at forgiving people. Because my appetite and my rage was so well developed that I hemorrhaged and bled to death. So, you want to match that? Okay.
Well,
she died for 37 seconds.
There you go.
She died
really,
too.
it's fabulous.
I kind of bled to death too, but that was totally unrelated.
But and you know what happened? They had to give me blood transfusions. I lost it all.
Yeah.
Like it was fabulous. But and
awesome. It was great. I lost my uterus. We'll talk.
Okay, and I'll see you. I'll match you one. But you know what?
She had a grand ball. Go.
But you know what? But when I got the transfusions, in terms of archetypes, the people that I was involved with, they were for me under the familial archetype, not my blood family, but, and so it got to my blood. And so then I had to have these blood transfusions, and what was so extraordinary, it was so brilliant, I could not get the rage out of me on my own. I couldn't do it. I was not strong enough. I was not. I was so filled with self-righteousness, okay? It's like I had to be flushed out. I had to be purged. And when the blood transfusions came in, I was still living in New Hampshire. I found, like, I could feel blood is life force. You actually feel yourself going boop, 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 like coming back to life. But I had all the memories, but none of the emotion. None. All the blood in me, none of it had been through the experiences. I thought, this is fabulous. I did, because that's how I work. I'm always in awe. I actually live in a state of awe. I honestly, God, do. I'm not kidding you. I get such a kick out of God. And I'm always in awe of something God's pulled. And just like, wow, this blood doesn't have any of my emotions in it. I'm ecstatic. So from that, I draw more lessons than you can possibly have. And one is, wow, was I one toxic SOB. Holy moly. And that ain't happening again. I actually learned. I learn. I don't do stupid twice. Well, most often. I don't do stupid twice. And forgiveness really is, I switched it around and I thought, you are really showing me the worst of myself. And I got to thank you for that. That takes some doing, because I'm one bright cookie. And that takes some doing. I could really be nasty, and I'm never going to be nasty. That is not going to happen. You've made me a powerhouse. You've made me brilliant. But I will not be dark. That is not going to happen. But I had to see that it could.
So sometimes you have to go to the darkest place.
Absolutely. Well, you have to see your own darkness. I said, well done. Mwah! And then, as I learned archetypes, as I learned the nature of archetypes, it helped me to understand our larger patterns. It helped me to understand, and then I would play games with myself, saying, what would it be like if I loved this person? What would it be like? There must be something in there to love. Sometimes I couldn't find anything. I can't see anything in Trump. But no, I'm serious. I have said that to myself. I can't. And I don't care if you do, but I can't. I just can't. It's beyond my scope right now. But I push myself. And one of the things I know is that what makes forgiveness challenging is you think it has to come with that moment of, I must make the other person acknowledge what they did. That will never happen. And why must that be a part? That's an act of vengeance. You want to humiliate them. You want to punish them. And that's something you have to deal with. Because whether or not it was that person or this person, you would feel vengeance. And this is something you have to recognize. This appetite for vengeance is not due to them. You have to neutralize this. You have to realize, I have this sense that nothing bad should happen to me, or nothing like that should have happened to me, or that I was entitled to something else. And that's where you have to sit down and say, where did I get that idea? I have told myself something that is simply not true. And because I'm so angry about it, or however it is, whatever it has happened, I'm not sure what it is, I don't know. But however it is, I know in my case, losing a whole company, how could that? But it did. And where did I, for one, think I'm entitled for that never to happen? Where did that come from? I made it up. I thought I was protected because when you're nice, bad things shouldn't happen. Where did that come from? These are fairy tales. Heaven doesn't play by our rules.
Thank you.
Stephanie literally predicted her own passing. She's featured in the series Surviving Death in episode 1, where she kept having recurring dreams about dying in childbirth.
Did you lose a child?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yes. One of the premonitions was that he was always going to be fine, but I'd be dead on the operating table.
Oh, but did you like dying?
No.
Didn't you get a tunnel or anything?
No.
It's so interesting. No, I saw the death happening for 3 months before it happened. Exactly how it was going to happen.
Yeah. We're going to have to go to dinner with Stephanie.
Fabulous. It was and I didn't want to go anywhere. I wasn't ready to go, and
Look at that, they let you come back.
They did.
Isn't heaven remarkable? Didn't you get a tunnel or anything?
I didn't get it. It's funny. I'm like, well, maybe I'm a Jew, and that's why I didn't get the tunnel. But
No. Are you kidding? I was engaged to Ken Ring. He's very Jewish, and he did 90% of the research in near-death experiences.
yeah. To who?
Ken Ring, Dr.
okay.
Ken Ring from
Yeah,
the
yeah.
University of Connecticut.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I when you look, I did regression therapy under hypnosis, and under hypnosis, I had the out of body experience. I saw spirits. They pierced the veil, saw everything the doctors, everything were doing after I flatlined. But if I saw any light, it was from the observer position, where I saw what I explain is a shooting star. So it was like a shooting star of light, and that's when my body flatlined or separated from the soul.
Isn't that fabulous? What a great experience. Well
Great.
done,
It
you.
was
Well
such
done,
a great
Stephanie.
experience.
Never underestimate what a shock can do to the body. What else?
I have the same thing with the blood transfusions. I didn't have that feeling of I'm going to get divorced.
Better things happen. Yeah. Go ahead, honey. Are you a Cubs fan? Tell me.
It's Ronnie. Ronnie Woo Woo. He's the ultimate Cubs fan. Oh,
I bet you're a Cubs fan. I could be psychic.
Love it. Hi, Ronnie.
Good evening. Hello, everybody.
Hello, Ronnie.
Life, to me, is 4 bases. Yes, no, right, or wrong. Whatever you do in life, you have to answer one of those 4 things. Now, I'm going to ask you, madam, you believe in miracles, yes or no?
Yes. Yes?
You believe in miracles.
Absolutely.
Do you believe that you're doing what God wants you to do? Yes or no?
Yes.
Why are you trying to help this university? Yes or no? Did you get a sign for it?
Why?
Did he give you a sign to do what you're doing?
A sign?
A sign, yes.
Multiple signs.
I think multiple. I just kept following the path. So I guess maybe signs, I suppose.
You do believe in miracles.
Totally. Yes.
So, to my knowledge, to my ability, I believe in miracles. And I understand Jesus, our Savior. I understand that if you believe in Jesus, if you don't, wherever you believe in, it goes up to God. No matter what you believe in. It's yes or no, or right or wrong, no matter what you do.
That's right.
If you tell one lie, if you steal, you're still wrong. And God gonna judge us like he did Solomon, Peter, Moses. He's gonna judge us all the same.
Right.
And I believe that totally.
I totally believe you. I don't think we get away with stealing a toothpick.
No, because God, a quarterback, he call all the plays, and you can't strike him out. He catches everything.
That's right.
Yeah, I totally.
That's right.
But I want to thank you. You're doing a wonderful job, and continue. And don't worry too much.
I'll do my best.
Thank you,
Thank
Ronnie.
you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
How many Cubs games have you been to?
Over 3,000.
Wow.
80 years old.
He's 80 years old, over 3,000.
Do you know what? One of my oldest friends, we went to high school together, so we've known each other a very long time. And her father just passed, and he said, I want to live long enough to see the Cubs win the World Series. And then after they won the World Series, Susie said, well, what else? He said, well, then I want to live long enough to make it into my 90s, and he did. But his big thing was seeing the Cubs win the World Series.
Love you, Ronnie.
I would live to see the Cubs win the World Series. I'm looking forward to seeing Jesus. I want peace all over the universe.
That's right.
Oh.
I love it. Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Ronnie. In Ronnie is proof in the power of prayer. I was a very true story. There were some, let's see, how can I put this? There were some challenges in a work position that I held, and so there was something that was brewing about it. There was some correspondence, if you will, and this person was very, very dark. You want to talk about darkness, encapsulated them, and I was concerned about energetic protection in a way. So I started praying, as Carolyn says, pray like a crazy person. Just pray like a crazy person. So I was brushing my teeth and praying, picturing light, getting grounded, just a lot of the basics, right? And picturing a team surrounding me. And then I went to an event up in Highland Park, and Ronnie was there. And he walked right up to me, and he looked at me, and he said, "You are surrounded by God's protection." It was the first thing he said. And it was just like, okay.
I'll take
it. And it was exactly what I needed to hear in the exact moment I needed to hear it. And that is what the power of prayer is. When it is heard, you put it out there, it lands somewhere. He was the vessel to tell me that I was going to be okay. And I was okay, and I was protected. So thank you for that reminder.
Think about now that we've been together through prayers, and it really has turned us into soul sisters so many ways. But it has woven into our lives. You're protected. I mean,
I know.
Yeah.
When you put out a flare and it's caught, and I have goosebumps right now, but that's what happened. I was curled up in a ball, and she caught the flare in Arizona and heard my prayer, and literally texted me hours later, answering my prayer. So I'm here as a witness and as an experiencer. You can't put toothpaste back in the tube.
It just so happened that she had the rosary in her hand, and I was saying a rosary. A friend said to me, I was in Arizona, she said, "Would you say a rosary with me? Would you show me how to say it?" And I said, "Yes." And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But a conversation I caught the flare, and I called her. I said, "Everything okay?" I think,
Yeah.
And I totally believe that it was prayer. It didn't have to be the rosary. It just happened to be the rosary. But it had to be a prayer, because a prayer puts you on another level, and that's the level, a miracle floor. Mm-hmm. The first floor is not miracles. First floor of your life is doubt, confusion, anger, rage. Mm-hmm. When you get to the floor of miracles, you have to get to that level where in your heart you can see all the chaos and say, still, with God all things are possible. Mm-hmm. Still. This is God's universe, not human beings' universe. Still. Mm-hmm. What a miracle is when God bends the laws of nature for you. Down on the first floor, these are the laws of nature. You think, it's impossible for this to happen. If a bottle of medicine says you'll be sick for 6 weeks, you will be sick for 6 weeks, because that by God is what it says. Mm-hmm. But as you go up the floors, I want you to picture this as chronos, hour by hour by hour. And as you go up the floors in yourself, every floor is a shift toward vertical timelessness. You become more light-filled. And the more, because you are detaching from psychic weight, W-E-I-G-H-T, psychic illusions, and you become more weightless, including W-A-I-T. Mm-hmm. So more synchronicity, more timelessness. So healing doesn't take as much physical time, because you are literally. And this is how they'd say, how do gurus end up levitating? How does they become more weightless than weighted? Mm-hmm. We are weighted, which is why in healing we have to start getting rid of things. We have to start emptying you out. We have to start cutting the strings of your density. Mm-hmm. Which is why even if you look at Jesus, you look at Buddha. Buddha says it's an illusion. Stop hanging on to illusions, because it's blocking your light. Mm-hmm. You're densifying. In Taoism, it's called attaching to spectacles. I had someone in my workshop say, I'm just so angry at what that person said to me. Yeah. And I said, all right, bring me what that person said to you in a box. Bring me your anger in a box and we'll deal with it. What? I said, what? If it's so real and such a big deal, go get it, get your anger, and put it in a box, and we'll deal with it. And I said, I'm perfectly willing to deal with it. Put it in a box. And she said, well, I can't. I said, why? She said, because. I said, where? Where is your anger? Well, and I said, put it in a box. I said, if you can't put it in a box, then it's all make-believe. You've decided to be angry. It's all up to you. You've just decided. You can't talk to me in that tone of voice. Maybe this one, but not that one. And this is the world you live in, a world of made-up rules, made-up laws, made-up stuff. I must have this. I have to have this. This is my space, my boundaries. You've made them all up. And the more inflexible you are, the sicker you become.
Ice versus mist.
Yep.
Well, everybody, thank you for this infusion of grace. Could you please remind us of the prayer? Give me some grace so I can kick some ass. What is it?
No. I would never say that.
Sorry. That was my Jen filter.
No,
I apologize.
No,
All right, yes.
I would never say that, Jen.
I know, I'm sorry.
Give me some badass grace. I need some help.
That's it. Everybody, thank you so much. Carolyn, thank you so much. Everybody, please be good to yourselves. Be good to others. Please treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Infuse that grace and start small and make a big difference. Love to you all. Thank you so very much.
Thank
and thank
you,
you, Carolyn.
everybody.
Thank you so much, sweetie.